During my daughter's engagement party, her fiancé cornered me in my own study and whispered, "Transfer 300,000 to my crypto account by Monday, or I'll tell Sarah you tried to pay me to leave her. She'll never speak to you again." I looked him straight in the eye, reached into my desk drawer, and pulled out something that made his face go white. That moment changed everything. Before I continue, I need you to understand how we got here. The call came on a Tuesday morning in late September. I was reviewing client portfolios at my downtown Toronto office, the CN Tower visible through my window, when Sarah's number lit up my phone. My daughter rarely called during work hours. "Dad, are you free for lunch today?" Her voice had that breathless quality I hadn't heard since she was 16 and got her first boyfriend. "Of course. Everything okay?" "Better than okay. I need to tell you something. Can you meet me at that Italian place on King Street? 1 o'clock? I arrived early, watching through the restaurant window as Sarah practically bounced down the sidewalk. At 29, she was thriving. Marketing manager at a tech firm, condo in Liberty Village, everything she'd worked for since graduating from University of Toronto. She dated casually over the years, nothing serious. Her career came first. She slid into the booth across from me, cheeks flushed from the autumn wind. "Dad, I'm engaged." The words hit like a slap. Engaged? To whom? Derek. Derek Chen. She pulled out her phone, swiped to a photo. "We've been seeing each other for 4 months. I know it's fast, but when you know, right?" The man in the photo was handsome. Mid-30s, expensive suit, confident smile. They were at some rooftop patio, Toronto's skyline behind them. 4 months isn't very long, sweetheart. I know. But Dad, he's different. Successful tech entrepreneur, founded 2 startups. He understands my career, supports my ambitions. Her eyes were shining. He's nothing like those other guys who felt threatened by my success. I wanted to be happy for her. Tried to find that genuine joy a father should feel. But something in Derek's smile in that photo, the way he angled himself in front of the skyline like he owned it, set off quiet alarms. I'd love to meet him properly. That's why I called. "Dinner at your place this weekend? I want you two to really connect." Saturday evening, I prepared my Cabbagetown home for their arrival. Set the dining table with the good china my ex-wife had left behind after the divorce 12 years ago. Made my signature roast, the one Sarah loved growing up. They arrived at 7 sharp. Derek strode through my front door like he was inspecting a property investment. 6 feet tall, designer everything, handshake too firm, smile too practiced. "Richard, great to finally meet you. Sarah talks about you constantly." His eyes were already cataloging my home. Beautiful Victorian. Original hardwood? These places in Cabbagetown must be worth, what, $2 million now? I haven't had it appraised recently. Smart investment. I'm in real estate myself. Commercial properties mainly, but I appreciate residential heritage. He moved through my living room, pausing at my bookshelf. Leather-bound first editions. Very nice. Sarah hovered beside him, watching his reactions like she was presenting me for approval. The dynamic felt inverted, wrong. Dinner conversation started pleasantly. Derek discussed his ventures with practiced enthusiasm. Currently developing a revolutionary crypto investment platform. Blockchain-based real estate tokenization. Web3 disruption of traditional finance. All the buzzwords delivered smoothly. We're in stealth mode right now, pre-launch. But early investors are seeing incredible returns, 20–30% monthly. My financial advisor instincts immediately flagged this. Nothing legitimate promises those returns. That seems aggressive. What's the underlying asset class? Derek smiled, that same confident smile from Sarah's photo. That's the beauty of crypto. The returns come from market inefficiencies, algorithmic trading, strategic positioning. It's complex, but trust me, the numbers work. Sarah jumped in, voice bright. Derek's already helped 3 of my colleagues make significant profits. One guy paid off his student loans in 6 months. The rest of dinner followed similar patterns. Derek mentioned the luxury condo he was renting in Yorkville, casually dropped names of venture capitalists he was supposedly meeting with, asked detailed questions about my financial advisory practice, my client base, my assets. When Sarah excused herself to the washroom, Derek's demeanor shifted subtly. The practice charm remained, but something harder emerged underneath. Sarah mentioned you're quite successful. Built your practice from nothing after your divorce. I worked hard, yes. She deserves security. A man who can provide the lifestyle she's accustomed to. His eyes met mine, measuring. I hope you understand how important that is. Family supporting family. The implication hung heavy. This wasn't casual conversation. This was negotiation, establishing expectations. After they left, I sat in my study staring at Derek's business card. Embossed, expensive cardstock. Vague title, CEO, Chen Ventures International. I pulled up my laptop and started searching. His LinkedIn profile was impressive. Education from University of Waterloo, stints at various tech companies, board positions, photos at conferences, networking events. Everything looked legitimate. But I'd been a financial advisor for 35 years. I'd seen enough frauds to recognize the signs. Returns too good to be true usually were. Vague explanations of business models. Name-dropping without specifics. Monday morning, I called my contact at the Ontario Securities Commission. Daniel and I had worked together on several client fraud cases over the years. Dan, I need a favor. Unofficial. Can you run a name for me? Derek Chen, supposedly running a crypto investment platform. His response came Tuesday afternoon. Richard, there's no registered investment operation under his name. No licenses, no regulatory filings. If he's taking money from investors, he's operating illegally. What else can you tell me? Limited, but I made some calls. Name came up in connection with a collapsed real estate syndication 3 years ago, Vancouver-based. Investors lost about $2 million. Chen wasn't charged, but he was peripherally involved, listed as a consultant. My stomach dropped. Is he dangerous? Financially? Absolutely. Otherwise? Can't say. But Richard, if your daughter's involved with him, you need to be careful how you handle this. I tried calling Sarah immediately. Straight to voicemail. Texted her. No response. Finally, she called back at 8 that evening. Dad, I'm busy. What's up? I need to talk to you about Derek. Can you come over? Her tone immediately shifted, defensive. If this is about his business, I've already told you, it's legitimate. Sarah, I had someone look into him. There's no registered investment operation. He has no securities licenses. And he was connected to a collapsed syndication where people lost millions. Silence. Then, cold as January wind off Lake Ontario. You investigated him? Behind my back? I'm trying to protect you. From what? From being happy? Her voice was rising now. You did this with James, with Michael, with every guy I've ever dated. Found something wrong with each of them. This is different. These are facts. He's operating illegally. People lost money. Or maybe you can't stand seeing me with someone successful. Someone who doesn't need your approval or your money. Derek warned me you'd react like this. My chest tightened. Derek warned you? He said you'd try to control this relationship, that you can't let go. And you know what? He was right. The line went dead. I sat in my study, staring at my phone. 3 unanswered texts, 5 calls to voicemail. My daughter had cut me off, and Derek had predicted it. More than predicted it. He'd prepared for it. Positioned himself as the understanding partner against the controlling father. Wednesday morning, my office assistant knocked. A woman's here to see you. Says it's urgent. Won't give her name. The woman who entered was mid-50s, well-dressed, tired eyes. She settled into the chair across from my desk like someone carrying great weight. Mr. Mackenzie, My name is Patricia Reynolds. I got your name from Daniel at the OSC. He said you were asking about Derek Chen. My attention sharpened. You know him? He destroyed my son. She pulled a folder from her purse, hands shaking slightly. Michael was 31, successful engineer. Met Derek at a Vancouver tech networking event 4 years ago. She slid photos across my desk. A young man, smiling, confident. Then later photos, hollow-eyed, defeated. Derek convinced Michael to invest in a real estate development. Showed him property renderings, construction contracts. Everything looked perfect. Michael put in his life savings, $85,000. What happened? The project didn't exist. Fake documents, fake contractors, fake everything. By the time Michael realized it, Derek had disappeared. The money was gone, moved through offshore accounts. My son tried to sue, but Derek had structured everything through shell companies. No assets to recover. She pulled out more documents. Michael wasn't the only one. At least 6 other victims, all following the same pattern. Young professionals, successful, isolated from family. Derek would romance their trust, sometimes literally. Literally? 3 of the victims were women he was dating. Engagement, pregnancy claims, emergency family situations requiring money. All lies. My blood ran cold, Patricia continued. After Michael lost everything, he spiraled. Depression, lost his job. 2 years of therapy before he could function again. She met my eyes. Mr. Mackenzie, Derek Chen is a predator. He researches his targets, finds their vulnerabilities, exploits them systematically. If your daughter is involved with him, she's in danger. After Patricia left, I sat surrounded by her documentation. Police reports, civil court filings, victim statements. A pattern emerged clearly. Derek targeted successful young professionals, built trust through romance or business partnerships, extracted maximum money through various schemes, then disappeared when questioned. I tried calling Sarah again. Blocked. Texted from different numbers. No response. Drove to her condo. She wouldn't come to the door. Thursday evening, Sarah's colleague Jennifer called me. She had my number from a company directory when I'd visited Sarah's office once. Mr. Mackenzie, I'm probably overstepping, but I'm worried about Sarah. What's happened? She's been acting strange, missed important meetings. Yesterday, she mentioned quitting. Said Derek's business needs her full attention, that she's becoming COO of his company. My worst fears crystallizing. Jennifer, has Sarah invested money with Derek? I don't know for sure, but last week she asked about liquidating her RRSP early. She has maybe $40,000 in there. When I mentioned the tax penalties, she got defensive. Said it was an incredible opportunity. $40,000. Sarah's emergency fund, her retirement savings, everything she'd built over 7 years of work. I spent Friday compiling evidence. Patricia's documentation, the OSC report, news articles about the Vancouver collapse, created a detailed timeline of Derek's pattern. 6 victims in 4 years, $200,000 extracted on average. Saturday afternoon, I drove to Sarah's condo. Waited in my car until I saw Derek leave, then approached the building. Used the call box. Sarah, please, just 10 minutes. I have information you need to see. Long silence. Then the door buzzed open. She stood in her doorway, arms crossed. You have 5 minutes. I handed her the folder. Financial records, victim statements, police reports. She flipped through them, face unreadable. These are other people, not Derek. Look at the pattern. Same age range, same industry, same promises of crypto returns and real estate investments. Sarah, there's no legitimate business. It's a con. Derek explained this already. Those people in Vancouver were trying to blame their bad investments on him. He was just a consultant. Not his fault they lost money. Did Derek tell you about the OSC investigation? Her hesitation was brief but visible. There's no investigation. You're making this up. Call them yourself. Ask about Derek Chen and unlicensed investment operations. You know what I think? She threw the folder at me, papers scattering. I think you're so jealous of Derek that you've constructed an entire conspiracy. How much did you pay these people to lie? Sarah, I would never. Get out. She pointed to the door. Get out, and don't contact me again. But I saw something in her eyes. Not conviction, doubt. The tiniest crack in Derek's carefully constructed facade. The engagement party invitation arrived via email. Hosted at Derek's rented Yorkville condo. Saturday evening, November 5th. 2 weeks away. I wasn't sure if I'd be welcome, but Sarah had included my name on the list. Maybe that crack of doubt was wider than I thought. I spent those 2 weeks working with Patricia and Daniel. We connected with 2 more of Derek's victims, documented his pattern more thoroughly. I also hired a private investigator, Marcus, who specialized in financial fraud. Marcus's report arrived Thursday before the party. Derek Chen wasn't even his real name. Born Derek Chang in Richmond, BC. 2 bankruptcies by age 30. Restraining order from an ex-girlfriend in Calgary. Currently wanted for questioning in a mortgage fraud scheme in Edmonton. The bank accounts were more interesting. In the past 3 months, Derek had received transfers totaling $93,000. Sarah's accounts showed withdrawals matching $42,000. Her entire RRSP liquidated, plus savings. But here's the thing. Marcus traced the money. It went to the Cayman Islands, stayed there 48 hours, then came back to Canadian accounts. Split between 3 shell corporations Derek controlled. No crypto trading, no real estate investments. Just money laundering through offshore accounts, then back to Derek's personal use. Saturday evening, I arrived at Derek's building in Yorkville. Luxury high-rise, doorman, marble lobby. The kind of place that cost $8,000 monthly, all funded by victims like my daughter. The penthouse was crowded. Sarah's friends from work, people I didn't recognize. Expensive catering, champagne, everything staged for maximum impression. Sarah was radiant in a black dress, diamond engagement ring catching light. She saw me enter, expression tightening, but social obligation kept her polite. Dad, glad you could make it. I wouldn't miss it. Where's Derek? She gestured toward the balcony, where Derek held court with several guests, expounding on cryptocurrency markets. I moved through the party, observing. Everything about this event screamed money being burned to maintain an illusion. The champagne alone probably cost $3,000. Around 9, Derek found me. Richard, good to see you. Can we talk? Privately? He led me down a hallway to a home office. Leather furniture, expensive art, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Toronto's downtown core. He closed the door, dropped the friendly pretense immediately. I know you've been investigating me. Calling the OSC. Talking to people in Vancouver. My hand moved casually to my jacket pocket where my phone was recording. A trick Marcus had taught me. I'd activated it before entering. Just looking out for my daughter. Here's the situation. Derek moved closer, voice low and hard. Sarah trusts me. She's already invested heavily in my ventures. If you continue interfering, I'll make sure she knows you're trying to sabotage her future. By telling her the truth? His smile was cold. Truth is subjective. I'll tell her you offered me $300,000 to leave her. Show her fake bank transfer attempts. She already thinks you're controlling. This will just confirm it. He pulled out his phone, showed me a doctored screenshot. My name, my bank information, a transfer note. Leave Sarah alone. That's fabricated. Doesn't matter. She'll believe me. And Richard, once she cuts you off completely, once she has no one else to turn to, she'll be much more cooperative about liquidating her other assets. That condo she owns, worth about $600,000. I'm thinking she could take a home equity line of credit. Another $200,000 easy. My jaw clenched. You've planned this carefully. I'm very good at what I do. So here's the deal. Transfer 300,000 to my crypto account by Monday? I'll make it look like a voluntary investment. In 6 months, I'll stage a market crash. We'll all lose our investments, and I'll move on. Sarah will still have her condo and her job. Everyone walks away relatively intact. And if I refuse, then Monday morning, I show Sarah that fake transfer attempt. Tell her you tried to bribe me. She'll never speak to you again. And I'll spend the next year methodically extracting every dollar she has. The condo, her car, maybe I'll even get her to co-sign business loans. When I'm done, she'll have nothing, and you'll have watched it happen from outside her life. I looked at him, this man who'd made a career of destroying people, and I smiled. Derek, you just made a mistake. I pulled out my phone, stopped the recording, played back the last 30 seconds. His voice crystal clear. Transfer 300,000 to my crypto account by Monday. Derek's face went white, then red. Give me that. He lunged for my phone. I stepped back, hand on the door handle. This recording goes to the OSC, to the police, and to Sarah. Unless you're out of Toronto by tomorrow morning. You can't prove anything. That recording could be fake, edited. Try me. I've also got 6 of your previous victims ready to testify. Bank records showing your offshore accounts. Documentation of your real name, your bankruptcies, the restraining order. His composure cracked completely. You don't understand. I have investors expecting returns. People who'll come after me if I don't deliver. That's your problem. Derek's voice turned desperate. Okay. What do you want? I'll leave Sarah alone. Just don't go to the police. I want you to tell her the truth. Everything. Tonight? His face twisted. She'll never believe you anyway. I've spent months building trust. You had one recording. Then let's test that theory. I opened the office door. Sarah was standing in the hallway, face pale. Behind her stood Jennifer and 3 other colleagues from her company. How much did you hear? I asked quietly. Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. All of it. She'd come looking for Derek. Found us in the office. The door hadn't closed completely. She'd heard everything from transfer 300,000 onward. Derek immediately shifted, that practiced charm sliding back into place. Sarah, sweetheart, this isn't what it sounds like. Your father trapped me, tried to make me say things. Sarah held up her phone. I recorded it too. Derek's face cycled through several emotions. Denial, anger, calculation. Finally landing on something ugly. You stupid girl. You think you're so smart with your marketing degree and your little job? I could have made you rich. Jennifer stepped forward. Sarah showed me her bank statements. You took $42,000. Invested it, Derek snapped. Not my fault if you're too ignorant to understand how crypto works. Sarah's voice was steady now, cold. There is no crypto operation, is there? Derek's silence was answer enough. She pulled the engagement ring off her finger, held it out. This is fake too, isn't it? Cubic zirconia? He didn't answer. Didn't need to. The truth was written across his face. Get out, Sarah said quietly. Get out of my life. Derek grabbed his jacket, turned to me. You have no idea who you're messing with. Actually, I do. The police are already on their way. I called them from the lobby. I hadn't. But Derek didn't know that. He bolted from the apartment. After the party cleared out, Sarah and I sat in Derek's empty living room. The champagne glasses sat abandoned, the expensive catering untouched. I gave him everything, Dad, my savings, my RRSP, my trust. She was crying now, quietly. How could I be so stupid? You're not stupid. You're human. He's a professional predator. You tried to warn me. I called you controlling, jealous, blocked your calls. I pulled her into a hug. You were protecting something you thought was real. That's not stupid, sweetheart. That's just being human. The next week was a blur. Sarah filed police reports, got restraining orders, started the process of trying to recover her money. The chances were slim. Derek had already moved most of it offshore. We tracked him to Montreal, then lost the trail. Interpol issued a notice, but Derek had disappeared before. He was good at it. Sarah moved back home temporarily. Couldn't afford her condo payments without her savings. Had to sell it. Lost money on the quick sale. $42,000 gone, plus another $60,000 in losses from the condo sale. She started therapy. Worked through the shame, the anger, the feeling of violation. I went with her sometimes. Family sessions about trust and forgiveness. 3 months later, Sarah got a call from the RCMP. They'd arrested Derek in Vancouver, caught him running the same scheme on a dentist. Turns out 6 other victims had come forward after Sarah filed her report. Enough evidence for charges. The trial was scheduled for September. Sarah would have to testify. We met with the Crown Attorney, reviewed evidence, prepared testimony. One evening in June, Sarah and I sat on my back deck. Summer breeze carrying the scent of lilacs from my garden. "Dad, I need to say something." I set down my coffee, waited. "Thank you for not giving up, for investigating Derek even when I shut you out." She wiped her eyes. "You saved me from losing everything. You would have figured it out eventually, maybe. But by then, I'd have lost my condo, destroyed my credit, maybe worse. You stood between me and disaster even when I hated you for it. That's what fathers do." "No." She shook her head. "What fathers do is love their kids. What you did was love me enough to let me hate you. That's different. That's harder." September arrived. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Derek's lawyer tried every angle. The recording was entrapment. The victims were lying. The investments were legitimate but unfortunate. None of it worked. Sarah's testimony was devastating. Clear, detailed, documented. The other victims corroborated everything. The financial records proved the fraud conclusively. The judge sentenced Derek to 6 years. Restitution orders for all victims, though we all knew that money was gone. Asset seizure, though Derek had spent most of it maintaining his lifestyle. But the criminal record meant he couldn't run this con again. Not easily. Not in Canada. After the sentencing, Sarah and I stood on the courthouse steps. October wind carrying fallen leaves across University Avenue. "Is it over?" she asked. "It's over." She leaned against me, exhausted. "I lost everything, but I got you back. Somehow that feels like winning." Last month, Sarah got a promotion at her company. Better salary, better title. She's rebuilt her savings slowly. Found a smaller apartment she can afford. Started dating again, carefully. We have dinner every Sunday now. Sometimes we talk about Derek, about what happened. Sometimes we don't mention it at all. Last Sunday, over roast chicken in my Cabbagetown dining room, Sarah asked me something. "Dad, when you played that recording at the party, were you scared that I still wouldn't believe you?" I thought about it, terrified. But I had to trust that somewhere under all Derek's manipulation, you were still you. Still the smart, strong woman I raised. She smiled. "Guess you were right. A father's love isn't about controlling your children's choices. It's about standing guard at the gates when they can't see the danger themselves, even when they hate you for it, even when they shut you out." I'd do it again. Every time. Because that's not control. That's love. If this story resonated with you, please like this video, subscribe to Shattered Vengeance, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Have you ever had to protect someone who didn't want your protection? How did it turn out? Your story might help someone else. And please, watch out for the warning signs. $300,000 demands don't appear overnight. They're built on months of manipulation, isolation, and trust exploitation. Stay vigilant. Stay safe. The smell of coffee had just begun to fill my kitchen when the sharp crack of metal on wood shattered the morning calm. I stood at the counter, fingers wrapped around my favorite mug, the one Sarah had given me for our 30th anniversary. The sound came again. Someone was at the back door, pounding hard enough to rattle the frame. Through the window over the sink, November frost traced patterns across the glass. The lake beyond my property sat gray and still, the kind of Ontario morning where the cold seeps through walls no matter how high you turn the heat. I'd been awake since 5, couldn't sleep properly since the accident 2 weeks ago. My left shoulder still throbbed where the seatbelt had caught me, bruises spreading across my ribs like spilled ink. I set down the mug and moved toward the door, each step sending small jolts through my chest. The x-rays had shown 3 cracked ribs. The doctor said I was lucky. The car was totaled, wrapped around a hydro pole on Highway 7, but I'd walked away with nothing but bruises and a concussion that left me dizzy for days. The pounding came again. "Dad, open up, it's freezing out here." My daughter's voice. Emma. I unlocked the deadbolt and pulled open the door. She stood on the back deck, arms wrapped tight across her body, breath coming in white puffs. Behind her, Marcus leaned against the railing, hands shoved deep in his jacket pockets, his eyes scanning my property like he was taking inventory. "Emma, what are you doing here? It's not even 7. She pushed past me into the warmth, Marcus following close behind. Neither of them asked how I was feeling. Neither mentioned the bruises still visible on my face. "We need to talk, Dad." Emma went straight to the coffee pot, pouring herself a cup without asking. Marcus stayed near the door, his presence filling the space in that way he had, like he owned every room he entered. "About what?" I lowered myself into the chair by the table, moving carefully. The ribs didn't like sudden movements. Emma glanced at Marcus. Something passed between them, some unspoken agreement. She turned to face me, both hands wrapped around the mug. "About this place. About you living here alone. Dad, you almost died 2 weeks ago." "I'm fine. Few bruises, that's all." "You're not fine." Marcus spoke for the first time, his voice carrying that edge of impatience he always had when talking to me. "You fell asleep at the wheel, wrapped your car around a pole. At your age, Emma and I have been talking, and we think it's time to consider other options." "Other options?" The words hung in the air between us. "What kind of options?" I kept my voice level, neutral. 30 years, as a forensic accountant, had taught me the value of staying calm when something didn't add up. Emma set down her cup. "There are some really nice retirement communities in Peterborough, closer to us. You'd have people around all day, activities, proper care if you need it." "I don't need care. I need coffee and quiet, which I had until about 10 minutes ago." "Dad, be serious." Emma's voice took on that tone she used when she'd already made up her mind about something. "This house is too much for you. All this land, the maintenance, the isolation. You're 2 hours from the nearest hospital. What if something happens? What if you fall? What if there's another accident?" I studied my daughter's face, looking for the girl who used to sit at this same table, doing homework while Sarah made dinner. That girl had loved this place, had spent every summer swimming in the lake, had brought her friends up here right through university. When had she started looking at it like a burden? "I'm not selling my home, Emma. We're not asking you to sell it." Marcus pushed off from the door frame, crossing to stand beside Emma. They presented a united front, the two of them, against me. "We've been talking to a realtor in Toronto. With the market the way it is, lakefront properties like this are selling for over $800,000, maybe more. You bought this place for what, $60,000 back in the 80s? $72,000. In 1983, Sarah and I saved for 5 years." "Right." Marcus barely acknowledged the mention of my wife. "Point is, you're sitting on nearly $750,000. Money you could use to live somewhere safe, somewhere with medical staff on site. Emma and I are happy to help you through the process. In fact, I've already been in touch with a lawyer about setting up a power of attorney arrangement. Just temporary, while you recover from the accident." The words landed like stones in still water. Power of attorney. I took a slow breath, felt the ribs protest. "That's thoughtful of you, Marcus. But I don't need a power of attorney. I'm perfectly capable of managing my own affairs." "Dad, you're being stubborn." Emma's voice cracked slightly. "We're trying to help you. We love you. We don't want to see you hurt again, or living alone out here, wasting away," Marcus added. "It's not fair to Emma, worrying about you all the time." I looked at my daughter, really looked at her, the way she wouldn't meet my eyes, the way her fingers kept twisting the ring on her left hand, the diamond Marcus had given her 3 years ago, the ring that cost more than he made in a year selling used cars. "When did you two have time to talk to a realtor? The accident was only 2 weeks ago." Emma's face flushed. "We've been concerned for a while now. Since Mom died. That was 4 years ago, Dad. 4 years of you living out here alone. The accident just made it clear that we need to act." "Act," I repeated the word, tasting it. Interesting choice of words. "Look, we came here to help you." Marcus's patience was wearing thin. I could see it in the set of his jaw, the way his hands had formed fists in his pockets. "But if you want to be difficult about it, we can do this the hard way. Emma's your only child, only family. The courts would listen to her concerns about her elderly father's safety and judgment." "Marcus." Emma's voice held a warning. "No, let him finish." I leaned back in the chair, ignoring the pain in my ribs. I want to hear exactly what he's suggesting. Marcus smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "I'm suggesting we're trying to do this nicely, but there are legal avenues if an elderly person isn't capable of making sound decisions anymore, especially after trauma like a car accident, especially if they're refusing help from concerned family members. That's all I'm saying." The threat was clear. Cooperate, or they'd try to have me declared incompetent. I stood up slowly, steadying myself against the table. "I think you should both leave now." "Dad, please." Emma reached for my arm. I pulled away. "Leave. Now. Before I say something I can't take back." They left. Marcus first, his footsteps heavy across the deck. Emma lingered in the doorway, her face twisted with something that might have been guilt or frustration. I couldn't tell anymore. "We're not giving up on this," she said quietly. "We're trying to protect you." Then she was gone, the door clicking shut behind her. I stood alone in my kitchen, the coffee gone cold in the pot, and felt the first real stirring of fear. Not fear of being alone or of managing the house. Fear of what I'd just seen in my daughter's eyes, the calculation, the certainty. The way she and Marcus had rehearsed this conversation, like lines from a script. I picked up my phone and opened the calendar, scrolled back 2 weeks to the day of the accident, November 10th. I'd been driving home from Bancroft, where I'd gone to pick up some supplies at the lumber yard. It had been 2 in the afternoon, broad daylight, and I'd had 1 cup of coffee that morning. 1 cup, and I'd felt fine until suddenly I wasn't. Until the world went gray and spinny, and I was waking up with paramedics shining lights in my eyes. "Fell asleep at the wheel," the OPP officer had written in his report. No other vehicles involved, no witnesses. The stretch of highway where I'd crashed was rural, isolated. The kind of place where you could hit a pole and not be found for hours if you were unlucky. But I hadn't fallen asleep. I remembered that much. I remembered feeling strange, feeling wrong, remembered pulling over, or trying to pull over, and then nothing. I went to the cabinet above the fridge, the one where I kept the medication, found the prescription bottle that the emergency doctor had given me that day. Pain medication. 2 pills, she'd said, 1 in the morning if I needed it. I'd taken one that day in the hospital, felt sick and fuzzy, and hadn't touched them since. I opened the bottle and shook out a pill. Looked at it closely. Small, white, round. Exactly like the sleeping pills I'd been prescribed months ago after Sarah died, the ones I'd stopped taking because they made me groggy. Too similar, maybe. I went to my office, the small room at the front of the house, where I'd set up my desk after retiring, fired up my computer, and started going through my files. Bank statements first. Checking account showed nothing unusual. Savings account, same. But when I pulled up the account for the house insurance, the one that auto-paid every month, something was off. The payment history showed a lapse. 2 months ago, the automatic payment had failed. I'd received an email about it. I remembered now. Had logged in to fix it. update the credit card information. Except I was looking at the account now and the credit card on file wasn't mine. It was one I didn't recognize, and the billing address was a P.O. box in Peterborough, where Emma and Marcus lived. I sat back in my chair, ribs aching, head starting to pound with more than just the lingering effects of the concussion. Pulled up my email and searched for the insurance company's name. Found the message from 2 months ago. Clicked on the link in the email. The link took me to a site that looked exactly like my insurance company's login page. Except when I looked closely at the URL, really looked at it, I could see it was off by one letter. A phishing site. A fake, designed to capture login credentials. Someone had sent me a phishing email, gotten my username and password, and changed my insurance payment to their own card. But that didn't make sense. The insurance was still active. They were still paying it. Why would someone pay my house insurance with their own money? Unless they needed the policy to stay active. Unless they needed the house to stay insured for something that was going to happen. My phone buzzed. A text from Emma. Dad, please think about what we said. We only want what's best for you. We love you. I stared at the message, at the words, we love you, that suddenly felt hollow. Then I opened my contacts and scrolled to a name I hadn't called in 5 years. Thomas Chen, former colleague from my days at the Ontario Securities Commission. We'd worked together on fraud cases, tracking money through shell corporations and offshore accounts. Tom had retired 3 years before me, moved to Ottawa, but we'd stayed in touch sporadically. Christmas cards, the occasional email. He answered on the third ring. David, that really you? Tom, yeah, it's me. I need a favor, a big one. Name it. I need you to do a background check. Financial records, credit reports, court filings, everything you can find. On who? I took a breath, felt the ribs pull. My son-in-law, Marcus Brennan. Tom was quiet for a moment. This official or personal? Personal. Very personal. But Tom, I need it fast, and I need it quiet. You want to tell me what this is about? Not yet. Maybe never. Can you do it? Give me 48 hours. I'll call you from a number you won't recognize. If a Toronto area code shows up, answer it. Thanks, Tom. David, be careful. If you're looking into family, there's usually a reason, and those reasons don't tend to end well. I hung up and sat in my office, watching the morning light spread across the lake. The trees on the far shore stood bare and black against the gray water. Winter was coming fast. This would be my 5th winter without Sarah, my 5th season of keeping this house warm by myself. Or maybe it wouldn't. Maybe Emma and Marcus were right. Maybe I was too old, too tired, too alone to keep fighting for this place. Except I wasn't tired, and I wasn't ready to quit. What I was, after 30 years of following money trails and catching people who thought they were clever enough to hide their crimes, was suspicious. The phone rang again, not my cell this time. The landline, the old rotary phone Sarah had insisted on keeping even after everyone else had gone digital. I picked it up. Mr. Thornton? A woman's voice. Professional, slightly nervous. Yes? This is Jennifer Wu from Muskoka Realty. I hope I'm not calling too early. I wanted to follow up on the inquiry your son-in-law made about your property on Lake Bernard. He mentioned you might be interested in listing soon, and I wanted to reach out directly to discuss options. The market is very hot right now for waterfront properties, and I think we could get you a remarkable price if we move quickly. My hand tightened on the receiver. Marcus contacted you? Yes, about 3 weeks ago. He said you'd had a health scare and were considering downsizing. He wanted to get information about the listing process, paperwork requirements, that sort of thing. I have to say, Mr. Thornton, properties like yours don't come available often. With the recent development on the North Shore and the new marina going in, values are climbing fast. If you're thinking of selling, now would be an excellent time. 3 weeks ago, before my accident. I'm sorry. What? Nothing. Miss Wu, thank you for calling, but I'm not interested in selling. Oh, I see. Marcus said, "Well, he seemed quite certain that you'd be listing soon. He even asked about expedited closing procedures. I thought, that is, I assumed." "You assumed wrong. I'm not selling. Not now. Not anytime soon. And if Marcus contacts you again about my property, you tell him the owner has no interest and no authorization has been given." I hung up before she could respond. Stood there in my office, the phone still in my hand, as pieces started falling into place like numbers in a ledger finally balancing. 3 weeks before my accident, Marcus was already talking to realtors. 2 months before that, someone accessed my insurance account and changed the payment method. Emma and Marcus showing up this morning with a rehearsed speech about retirement homes and power of attorney. The threat about having me declared incompetent if I didn't cooperate. And the accident itself. The way I'd felt so suddenly wrong, so dizzy and disoriented. The sleeping pills I'd been prescribed and the pain medication that looked identical. I went to the bathroom and found both bottles. Shook out one pill from each. Held them side by side in my palm. Identical. Anyone could have made the switch. Anyone who had access to my house. Who knew where I kept my medication. Who had been here in the months since Sarah died helping me sort through her things. Emma had been here. Emma and Marcus, both, going through closets and drawers, packing up Sarah's clothes for donation. Emma, who had a key to the house. Emma, who knew my routines, knew I had coffee every morning before driving anywhere. It would have been simple. Switch the pills in the pain medication bottle. Wait for me to take one before driving. The sleeping pill would hit fast, especially mixed with coffee. I'd get drowsy, disoriented, crash the car. Maybe die. Probably not. Not on a relatively slow rural road. But enough to scare me, shake me up, make me seem fragile and elderly, and in need of help. And then they'd swoop in with their solution. Retirement home, power of attorney. A quick sale of the property before I realized what was happening. Emma would get the money as my heir. And Marcus would finally have access to the kind of cash he'd been chasing since the day he married her. My phone buzzed again, the Toronto area code Tom had mentioned. "David, you sitting down? Tell me." Tom's voice was grim. "Your son-in-law is in deep. I'm talking $200,000 in credit card debt, another $150,000 in personal loans. His car dealership is underwater, hasn't turned a profit in 18 months. He took out a second mortgage on their house last year, and he's 3 payments behind. The bank's threatening foreclosure. Jesus. It gets worse. There's a court filing from 6 months ago. A former business partner is suing him for breach of contract and fraud. Claims Marcus sold vehicles with undisclosed damage, pocketed the money, and left him holding the liability. Trial set for January. If he loses, he's looking at another $250,000 in damages. So, he's desperate. Beyond desperate, he's drowning. And David, there's one more thing. Your daughter's name is on some of these accounts. Joint credit cards, joint loans. If he goes down, she goes with him. I closed my eyes. Saw Emma at age 7, holding up a painting she'd made at school. Emma at 16, getting her driver's license. Emma at 25, introducing me to Marcus for the first time, her eyes shining with hope. Thanks, Tom. What are you going to do? I don't know yet, but I'll figure it out. I spent the rest of the day in my office, going through every document I could find. Insurance policies, property records, bank statements. Built a timeline of everything that had happened in the last 3 months. Then I made a list of everything I'd need to prove what they'd done. The switched pills would be first. I called my doctor's office, asked for copies of all my prescriptions from the past year. The secretary said they could have them ready by tomorrow. Good. Next, I needed proof that someone had accessed my house to make the switch. I went to the closet in the hallway, pulled out the old box of Sarah's photography equipment, found her spare camera, the one with the motion sensor feature she'd used for wildlife shots. Took me an hour to remember how to set it up, but finally I had it mounted in the corner of the kitchen, angled toward the medication cabinet. If anyone came into my house again, I'd have footage. Then I called my lawyer, Richard Moss, the same man who'd handled Sarah's will and our estate planning. Old school, careful, the kind of lawyer who still used a fountain pen. David, good to hear from you. How are the ribs healing? Slowly. Richard, I need to make some changes to my will. Certainly. What kind of changes? I want to set up a trust. The house goes into it immediately, effective today. I'm the trustee while I'm alive. But upon my death, the property doesn't go to Emma. It goes to the Lake Bernard Conservation Foundation. They can turn it into a nature preserve, education center, whatever they want. But it doesn't get sold. It doesn't get developed. And Emma doesn't inherit a cent from it. Richard was quiet for a long moment. David, that's a significant change. Emma is your only child. Are you certain about this? I'm certain. How fast can you draw up the papers? I can have them ready by end of day tomorrow. But David, I have to ask, is everything all right between you and Emma? Everything's fine, Richard. I just want to make sure my wishes are clear. Sarah loved this land. She'd want it protected. All right. I'll have the documents ready. Come by my office tomorrow at 4. I hung up and sat back in my chair. Phase 1 complete. The house was protected. No matter what happened to me now, Emma and Marcus couldn't touch it. But that wasn't enough. I wanted them to know, wanted them to understand exactly how they'd failed. That night, I didn't sleep. Lay in bed watching shadows move across the ceiling, listening to the house creak and settle around me. This place had been in my life for 40 years. I'd carried Sarah across the threshold the summer we bought it. We'd raised Emma here, had taught her to swim off the dock, had watched her grow from child to woman within these walls. And now she was trying to take it from me, not for sentiment or family preservation, but for money to save her husband's failing business. My phone lit up in the darkness. 2 a.m., a text from Emma. Can't sleep thinking about our conversation. Please, Dad, let us help you. We can come by tomorrow, go over everything calmly. Marcus says there are programs that can help with the transition. You don't have to do this alone. I read the message twice. Looked for any sign of the daughter, I remembered. Found only calculated words, each one chosen to manipulate. The phrase, "you don't have to do this alone," particularly stung, as if they were offering companionship instead of theft. I typed a response, deleted it, typed another, finally settled on something simple. Come by tomorrow, noon, we'll talk. The reply came immediately. Thank you, Dad. We love you. See you tomorrow. I set down the phone and allowed myself a thin smile. Yes, we would talk. We would talk about a great many things. The next morning, I drove into town. The drive felt different now, knowing what I knew. Every curve in the road, every section of pavement became potential evidence of what they'd tried to do. I took it slow, paying attention to how I felt. Clear-headed, alert, no dizziness. No sleeping pills in my coffee this time. Richard's office was in an old building on the main street, the kind of place where lawyers still had secretaries and filing cabinets instead of clouds and apps. He had the papers ready, as promised. I read through them carefully, my old instincts from the Securities Commission kicking in. Every clause, every provision checked. "You're sure about this?" Richard asked as I signed. Completely. He notarized the documents, filed copies, handed me the originals. The trust is established. As of right now, the property is protected. Your will has been updated. Emma will receive your personal effects and financial accounts, but the land and house are separate. Perfect. One more thing, Richard. If anything happens to me, anything suspicious, I want you to immediately contact the OPP. Tell them about these documents. Tell them about the timing. His eyes narrowed. David, what's going on? Insurance, Richard. That's all. Just insurance. I stopped at the pharmacy on the way home, picked up the prescription records, confirmed what I already knew. 2 bottles, one for pain medication, one for sleeping pills. Both prescribed, both legitimate, both identical in appearance. Back at the house, I had 2 hours before Emma and Marcus arrived. I spent it setting up one final piece of the puzzle. Tom had sent me an email that morning with a detailed financial report on Marcus. I printed it all, organized it in a folder, added the prescription records, added a printout of my insurance account showing the unauthorized card change, created a timeline document outlining everything that had happened. Then I put it all in an envelope, addressed it to the OPP detachment in Bancroft, and left it in my desk drawer. At exactly noon, I heard tires on the gravel drive. I'd made coffee, set out 3 mugs on the kitchen table, arranged myself in the chair where I could see their faces clearly. The knock came. I called for them to enter. Emma came in first, Marcus behind her. They were dressed nicely, like they were going to a business meeting. In a way, they were. "Dad, thank you for agreeing to talk." Emma took the chair across from me. Marcus remained standing, his usual dominance play. "Coffee?" I gestured to the pot. "I'm fine, thanks." Emma's hands twisted together in her lap. "Look, I know yesterday got a bit tense. Marcus was just trying to help, and maybe we came on too strong." "Maybe?" I kept my voice neutral, conversational. "We're worried about you," Marcus said. He'd moved to the window, looking out at the lake. "That's all this is. Concern from family. The accident scared us, David. Scared us badly. We don't want to see you get hurt again." Interesting choice of words. See me get hurt again. As if you're worried about a repeat occurrence. Emma's eyes flickered. "What do you mean?" "I mean, Marcus here was talking to realtors about selling my house 3 weeks before my accident. Before there was any reason to think I needed to move. Isn't that right, Marcus?" He turned from the window. His face had gone carefully blank. "I was just gathering information, being proactive. Proactive. Like how someone was proactive enough to access my insurance account 2 months ago and change the payment information. Like how someone who had a key to my house might have been proactive enough to switch my medications." The silence in the kitchen was absolute. Emma had gone pale. Marcus's jaw tightened. "Dad, what are you talking about?" I pulled out my phone, opened the photo I'd taken of the 2 pill bottles side by side, slid it across the table to Emma. Pain medication and sleeping pills. Identical. Easy to mix up if someone wanted to make an elderly man drowsy before he got behind the wheel. Easy to create an accident that would make him seem fragile and confused and in need of help. "That's insane." Marcus's voice had gone cold. "You're suggesting we tried to hurt you?" "I'm not suggesting anything. I'm stating facts. Tom Chen, my former colleague at the Securities Commission, ran your financials, Marcus. You're bankrupt. 200,000 in debt, business failing, lawsuit pending. You need money desperately, and my house is worth $800,000. Money that would go to Emma if something happened to me. Money that would solve all your problems." Emma stood up, chair scraping against the floor. "Dad, stop. You don't know what you're saying. You're confused. The concussion. The concussion that happened after I mysteriously got drowsy driving home, after having 1 cup of coffee and a pain pill from a bottle that someone with access to my house could have tampered with." I remained seated, kept my voice level. "I'm not confused, Emma. I'm angry and disappointed, but not confused." Marcus moved fast. He crossed the kitchen in 2 steps, leaning down so his face was inches from mine. "You can't prove any of this. You're a paranoid old man making accusations you can't back up. And even if you could, who would believe you? Your own daughter? Please. Sit down, Marcus." He didn't move, loomed over me, using his size to intimidate, a tactic I'd seen 100 times in interrogation rooms. It never worked on me then either. I said, "Sit down." Something in my voice must have reached him. He straightened, took a step back. Emma grabbed his arm. "Marcus, let's just go." "No." I stood up slowly, feeling every ache in my ribs. "You came here for a conversation. Let's have one. You want my house. You need the money. Fair enough. Here's my counteroffer." They both stared at me. I spoke to my lawyer yesterday. The house is now in an irrevocable trust. When I die, it doesn't go to Emma. It goes to the Lake Bernard Conservation Foundation. They'll turn it into a nature preserve. The house, the land, all of it, protected forever. Emma's face crumpled. Dad, no. You can't. I already did. The documents are filed. Nothing you do to me now changes that. You can't sell it. You can't develop it. You can't touch it. All that money you were counting on? Gone. Marcus's face had turned red. You spiteful old bastard. Careful, Marcus. I've also documented everything I've discovered in the last 48 hours. Your financial situation, the suspicious timing of events, the switched medications. It's all in an envelope addressed to the OPP. If anything happens to me, anything at all, my lawyer has instructions to send it immediately. And trust me, they'll investigate, especially once they see the pattern. There is no pattern, Emma said desperately. Dad, you're wrong about this, about all of it. We were trying to help you. Help me right into a retirement home so you could sell my house and save Marcus's failing business. That kind of help? She opened her mouth, closed it. I saw the moment she realized I knew everything, saw the hope drain from her face. I want you both to leave now. And Emma, leave your key to the house on the table. Dad, your key. Now. She fumbled with her key ring, hands shaking, pulled off the brass key, the one I'd given her when she turned 16, laid it on the table like she was laying down a weapon. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry. We were desperate. Marcus's business, the lawsuit, the debt. We didn't know what else to do. You could have asked me for help. You could have been honest. Instead, you tried to rob me. Worse, you tried to make me think I was losing my mind. We never wanted to hurt you, Marcus said, but his voice lacked conviction. Get out. They left. Through the window, I watched their car pull away, gravel spraying from the tires. Watched until it disappeared around the curve in the road. Then I sat down at my kitchen table, in the house that Sarah and I had built a life in, and felt every one of my 68 years settle onto my shoulders. I'd won. The house was safe. They couldn't touch me. But the victory tasted like ash. Because my daughter had tried to destroy me for money. Because the little girl who used to pick wildflowers by the lake had grown into a woman who would poison her own father's medication to steal his home. My phone rang. Tom Chen. Did they come by? They came. And they left. It's done. You all right? I will be. Eventually. David, you did the right thing. You know that. Doesn't make it hurt less. No, I guess it doesn't. Listen, I'm driving up your way next week. I'll stop by, bring some decent whiskey. We can sit by your lake and remind ourselves why we spent 30 years catching bastards like him. I'd like that, Tom. Thank you. I hung up and walked through my house, room by room, the bedroom where Sarah died, the living room where Emma learned to walk, the kitchen where we'd had 1,000 family dinners. Every corner held memories, held ghosts of better times. Outside, the lake stretched gray and endless beneath the November sky. Winter was coming, and I'd face it alone, as I'd faced the last 4 winters alone. But this time, I'd face it knowing the truth about my daughter, knowing what she was capable of. The house was safe. The land was protected. Sarah's legacy would continue. But the cost of that protection was every memory I'd had of Emma as a child, every hope I'd held for our future, every piece of love I'd kept burning for her since Sarah died. Some victories, I realized, feel an awful lot like losing everything that mattered. I poured myself a coffee, sat at the table, and waited for spring to come.